Welcome to the first episode of Gaming Corner. It's your boys from I Wish Gaming. You got King Matrix TV, Don Cuddles TV, and Lord Chimera TV. What's up, fellas?
What's up, everybody?
What's going on? What's going on?
This is the first episode of Gaming Corner, and we are so excited to be here to talk about something because this Gaming Corner just happens to be called Gaming Corner because we're gamers, should I say. And the fact of the matter is we'll talk about all kinds of things, but the first one that we're going to talk about happens to be a topic that you guys have seen us play this game all the time, Call of Duty. But Call of Duty ranges back a lot farther than we think. To the beginning of time, Call of Duty 1, it has evolved over time, and we're going to sit here and we're going to talk about the history of Call of Duty. So let's jump right into it, fellas. Call of Duty 1. The first
October
one ever.
29th,
2003.
2003.
The developer was Infinity Ward. Multiplayer maps, I didn't even know they had multiplayer maps back then. There was 29 of them. I look at Peaks, I feel like I do remember that map. I didn't start playing that game, or the Call of Duty franchise, should I say, until like Call of Duty 4. No, actually that's wrong. I think I played at Call of Duty 3. I think I own Call of Duty 3, and I played a little bit of it. I didn't even know there were multiplayer maps. What about you guys?
I didn't even know the game existed, to be honest. I was playing Halo around the time, but yeah, it's wild. It's been a long time for that game to been released.
So you
Crazy.
weren't a Call of Duty player at all? Like you never
No,
knew
not
anything
even
about
a
it? You didn't play it?
Nope, I was a Halo player through and through for first couple of Call of Duties. So
I think during that time I was a big wrestling fan. I was playing a lot of wrestling games. So like this didn't even hit my radar, when this thing came out, So let's move along. Dre, you didn't play Call of Duty 1?
No, not at all. I didn't expect that it had multiplayer. I thought it would be, those like a campaign Call of Duty, like it just had a campaign story. But to have this being like one of the first Call of Duties, not only that, they have 29 maps. That's a lot.
What do you think? Well, I guess if neither of you guys or none of you guys have played it during that time, like to me, I'm questioning: was it as popular then as it was? Do you think during the time that you started playing it? Like, is that fathomable? Like, did you guys hear anything about it? Like, do you know that it was a thing and you just didn't play it?
I didn't know. It's like I started my Call of Duty journey probably a little bit later than the earlier
Well,
Call of Duties.
I played. No, actually, I wasn't even wrestling games. I was a big because I started the clan not on Call of Duty for IWMW. I started on Rainbow Six. So to me, during these first couple Call of Duties, I was running IWMW on several different platforms of Rainbow Six, where we were one of the top 10 teams, beating people like Clan Pure, ran by my boy White
Oh
Skull.
yeah.
Modern Mayhem, PMS, like just to name a few of the clans from back in the day when we were one of those top 10 teams. So then moving on to Call of Duty 2. Okay. That was back in October 25th of 2005.
Call of Duty
I'm
2.
looking at I'm looking at some of the maps. I don't like I said, I didn't play this one either. I didn't come in until Call of Duty 3. Either of you guys, I mean, looking
Nope.
at the maps, looking at anything, did you play anything during it? Was it popular during that time? I was still on Rainbow Six.
I'm thinking that fucking Call of Duty was still outshone by Halo. It was around when
Yeah.
COD 4 came out. That's when everybody out trained. You know what I mean? But I think that COD 2 was decent for its time period. It doesn't look like it had any perks or anything like that. But we're around 2005, I believe. And
That definitely sounds.
what was that? Was that Halo 3? No,
Halo?
Halo. It was Halo 2. That's even worse.
No, it had to be one of
Yeah.
Halo. It had to be Halo 3 because I think that that's just when we were kind of wrapping up Rainbow Six. The clan kind of fell apart, and we started to play a little bit of Halo, and we weren't as good during that time. And when we realized that Halo just wasn't it, that's when I had started playing the next one that we're about to get to. I played a little bit of Call of Duty 3, and I was just doing that as like single player. Let's see what the shooter's like compared to Rainbow Six. And I didn't really like it because it was like more like World War. I guess that kind of jumps us past Call of Duty 2, moves us into Call of Duty 3. But that game, I don't like the old school guns and that old feel or whatnot. So I really wasn't even like fucking with it. What about you?
Uh, from what I'm looking at, it looks like they started dimming down on the amount of multiplayer maps, whereas the first one had 29, then the slowly is going to 22, then the 20. But also during Call of Duty 3, it's saying its release date was November 7th, 2006. Unfortunately, that's when the first Gears of War came out,
I
and
do.
it probably didn't even do that good compared to Gears of War.
I
Oh
do
yeah,
remember
that's
playing a
it.
little Gears of War too back then.
You're fighting a lot of stuff at that point. Like there's a lot of games that already had their footprint, and Call of Duty still wasn't that game yet. You know what I mean? And I think that it must have happened shortly after this, right? Where like it had to been COD 4. I don't think Call of Duty
Yeah,
was that popular before COD 4.
no. The
So you
next,
don't remember hearing anything about like people just talking about, oh, you should play this other game. Kind of like Counter Strike was a thing. You know what I mean? And people still play it, I'm sure. But like whenever it became popular, it was a thing. And I don't remember even Call of Duty 3, Call of Duty 2, people were like saying, oh, you should play these other games, yada yada. I didn't even, like I said, I didn't even know multiplayer was a thing until Call of Duty 4.
and
So
speaking of which, the next game is Call of Duty 4.
So that's the game. Just a quick story about that. Like I was over a friend's house and playing that game. He had it on the Xbox, and I was like PlayStation only. And he was like, "Well, play this game." I was like, "Bro, I played that Call of Duty 3. Was it? Was it? No, but Call of Duty 4. Blah blah blah. This multiplayer is insane." Got into that, fell in love with it, and um, that's when actually no, it was Rainbow that I did that happened. I'm sorry, not Call of Duty, but he introduced me to that, and so when I got into Call of Duty, it was just like, oh, okay, well, let's try this new game, and that's where I kind of got out of the whole like Rainbow Six, Halo, whatever we had going on during that time, and moved over to Call of Duty 4. That was the better game. That I think was the popular era that really sprungboard Call of Duty, and that came out in 2007, November 5th.
Yeah.
What's your guys' thoughts on it? Because that was the top era for me as a game and
COD
for the
4?
clan. Yeah, COD 4. As an era for a game and for the clan, that was the best era, the best game, the best version of maps, which we'll jump into. What's your guys' thoughts on it?
I played it for a bit.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ray.
I was saying that's when I first started hearing about everybody at school calling about Call of Duty was Call of Duty 4. I still haven't played it yet because, again, I was just running with my parents with the PlayStation 2. And it wasn't until later on until I finally got into the Call of Duty. But Call of Duty 4 was definitely the talk of the school. Everybody was playing that.
All right, what about you, Ray?
No, I played Call of Duty 4 for a little bit, like casually, right? At that point, I still wasn't playing with like a whole bunch of friends. It was mostly just like you pick it up, you play, and you call it a day. I think I used to play Domination all the fucking time. This is where I got my name, PJX Domination. And then because it also linked up with game mode in Halo. So Call of Duty was a huge era for IW, me knowing the history, but still wasn't my era. As I said, like it wasn't when I came in and wrecked shit. But I hear good things from Soup and you, so I have to believe it, right?
Yeah, well, that in general was an era where like we were playing we weren't as good starting out. Like when I had started playing that game or whatnot, we weren't as good. We were like just getting our feet wet. It wasn't until the later years, and I'm trying to pull up our legacy video because I feel like that's going to give me a lot of the names that came from that era that we played with. But looking at all the maps, because this had 9 less maps than the first Call of Duty. We were talking about how the first one had 29 and this had 20. This had 9 less maps. And the maps here are insane. I'm looking down the list, and all of them were fucking bangers. But not all of them, because there were some of them. Like if you went to go through it, no, there's some of them. Like I'm looking at Kill House, which I don't think that was considered a main map, and Chinatown that wasn't considered a main map, and Broadcast and Creek, those weren't main maps. But if you look at the main maps that came out, like Wet Work and Vacant, Strike, Showdown, Shipment, Pipeline, like banger,
Crash
Overthrown
was huge.
Yeah.
District, Crossfire, Crash, Countdown, Bog, like banger, Black. All of them were bangers.
We also had to talk about the campaign too, man. The campaign was phenomenal on COD 4. It went all out with Soap. I think that was the
Oh,
introduction of soap, and that's when they really had their foothold, right? I think that was also they had like a famous campaign map where you're like the sniper, right? And you have to like crawl around and be stealthy, and then take the super snipe and shoot off a guy's arm.
yeah.
That's where I remember COD. COD had a really fucking solid campaign that year.
So let me ask you this question: looking at the map list, I mean, not to segue from campaign, because campaign was good. It's not something that I like remember. Significantly, at least back then, I did play the campaign, but the maps with multiplayer, like I said, coming from a clan perspective, for me that was history. That was the nostalgia of Call of Duty. When you even, if we're talking about the history of Call of Duty, this is the one that more times than none people are going to name as being one of the greats. But what would be your top five? Since all of these maps are bangers, and you can only pick five out of them. Yeah, I was gonna go three, but I'll be generous. What would be your top five? And that could be in terms of the ones you were good at. It could be the ones that just were the best constructed maps of all time. Let us know which one you're picking for those versions and what five you would choose.
I would definitely say Crash is one of my favorites.
Why?
I I got my first nuke, I believe, over in Crash, hiding in this area in the back left where you can climb up this ladder, and then I could camp there with C4s and claymores. It was fantastic.
What's that top roof building that's on the left?
Yeah. Hard people camping up there, bro. So I became really good at camping there. So yeah, that was my number one. I would say Shipment would be two. I just liked how fast it was. It was easy to level up guns, or not level up guns. It was just easy to level up yourself.
Yuck.
And then Chinatown was definitely one of my favorite ones. I just like the layout. And then Vacant. Vacant would be the next one. And would I have one more? No, that's it for me. I like those are the most I like.
What about you, Dre? Do you have a top five of all time? If you had to narrow it down,
Now I will
15
say,
of them gotta go.
yeah, even though I haven't played Call of Duty, they did reintroduce some of these maps in the later Call of Duties, so we were able to play some of them.
You did play Call of Duty 4 though, like that was when you started, kind of similar to me and
No.
Ray.
I did not start at Call of Duty 4.
Okay, so you really didn't play this to have a number five, but some of them are familiar. You're saying because you've
Yeah.
seen them reintroduced. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you can answer that question. Go ahead. Go ahead. Let's hear you out.
I was gonna say, which one is it? Crash was my favorite because when they reintroduced it later in the later Call of Duties, as like a, so I loved the map layout, and it was fun because everybody went to that house that Ray mentioned, and it was funny just sitting there and watching, just camping there too. Next one would be Showdown. Again, great map layout, and it was also crazy because it was two sections, or two floors in the middle and with the middle. Shipment was number 3.
I thought you said two sexting, as in they were sexting.
Two sexting. 2 sections. Because there was a bottom floor and the top floor in the middle. I think Pipeline they reintroduced back. I'm not quite sure.
I don't think Pipeline came in. I don't think I've ever seen Pipeline reintroduced.
It might have not been, but I think it was Strike that they brought back.
Strike they did, yes. Recently,
So
I think actually on like the last Modern Warfare that's most recently came out.
So I'll go with Strike. Strike was pretty good, and I think.
See, for me, you
Okay.
think that's it?
Yeah, I think that's what they introduced.
For me, there was just certain maps that I was just a boss at. I know that a lot of people, because Ray, I don't know when you came into IW, you guys all say that I was some type of camper or whatnot, but literally, I was a sniper, I was a rusher, and I was an all-around good player. So for me, my top five definitely would be Overgrown number 1. Couldn't nobody fucking touch me on Overgrown. It's going down in Overgrown. Pipeline would be a second one. Downpour eventually became one of my tops. Block, Untouchable, and Backlot, Untouchable. I don't though in Strike. I know I had to pick 5 because Strike and Wet Work I definitely want to throw on there, but those were like my top maps. Was there any kind of perk or gun that really stood out the most on this game for you? Ray,
Pretty
since you
sure it's the
played it.
ACR. I'm almost positive that was like the goated gun in the game. That gun was just fucking stupid broken. Stopping power was broken. I'm trying to remember all of the things that I hated about the game. It was what was that one thing where Commando was so busted just because like how far people can knife and stuff like that, and it didn't really matter too much for you, I guess, because were you playing search back then in COD 4?
Yes.
Yeah,
We really have only been a search team. The only thing that we alternated from was playing hardcore versus core.
Yeah, see, that would have been a huge difference for me because I think in this era of I had to go back and think about it. I think I was hanging out with the ZR boys still.
Okay.
And I think I was with them up until Black Ops, where I swapped over to IW, or IWMW. But yeah, a couple of perks were just crazy busted. It was Commando. I didn't like the one where you were in Last Stand. Was Last Stand? I think that was where you're on the ground and just shoot because I killed you or whatever.
It's either
Yeah, I
Last
think
Stand or
so.
Final Stand or something like that.
It's
Yeah,
Last Stand, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I was like, if you suck, like you get to try to shoot me again. It's crazy, but yeah, that was my experience with the perks. What about you?
I mean, I can't really think of like the perks being because I've never been a perk person ever.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember using the M4 carbine. That was something that I used a lot to show people how to kind of burst fire when I was training people. The P90 definitely was one that I would use also. I think those were pretty much the two main guns. On Call of Duty 4, I did use the shotgun. Let me see if I can go to them so I can see what it's called. But that was almost my secret weapon. Like if I got pissed, like we're playing a good team that's smacking us, I'm putting away assault rifles, LMGs, missile launchers. I was shitting on people worse with a shotgun. I think it was this W1200. I was shitting on them worse than any other gun. Now looking at like legacy video, and it doesn't have every name, but it does have a few names, and I don't think you know all of them unless they were somebody that came in during that time and kind of surpassed. But this was an era that had Viper 54, aka Buck. It had Subis Back. It had Heavy J, KY or K. It's supposed to be KJ.
Kelly.
It's supposed to be KY Warren, but that's what it says at least. RGDS and his brother also, but they also played on like both accounts. Trawa, German. I mean, these were just a few names that were back in the day during that squad. But when we were like beating teams, like smacking them, this was our best era out of all the Call of Duties, and our top team during that time was me, KJ Warren, Soup, and Buck. This is also a time a little bit because Call of Duty 4 lasted for a long time, so a lot of people. We had a girl that came in. Her name was STD Pink. I have your name eventually, but like I said, this may not be by era, so I don't think you were on Call of Duty 4, but it has that. So I'm going based on what I remember. CJ Fritz, NGK Riot, rest in peace, Funky Blowfish are all names that came from that era. We had a lot of people come through that team. Hova. So
Blowfish didn't come from fucking COD 4.
Funky Blowfish?
Yeah, he definitely came out in Black Ops 2. 1000%.
I don't know about that. Well, when I did the legacy video, because I did it back during a time when everything kind of made sense, and I put people during like on this legacy video, which you guys can view on the John Doe. I don't know if you can find it, but I know where it is. It's a John Doe account for a YouTube account that has kind of like all the matches that we played. Not all of them, but like a lot of the pictures from the matches, our records on all the different games, when we've been to playoffs, people that have played. Like it's a really memorable thing to kind of reflect on.
All right.
So
I also wanted to correct that it was not the ACR of this game. See, as I said, I don't remember playing too much of COD 4. ACR, I'm pretty sure, was introduced in the Modern Warfare 2, and that's a game that I remember a lot of. So
now looking at the time, though, we're like 20 minutes in. We've only made it 4 games in. We're just now hitting the next game after that, which is World of War. There's still like 15 more Call of Duties to go. World of War. Jump into World of War, though. I didn't play it. I mean, I did play it because I remember playing with like Justin, aka Heavy J, and we were trying to do a clan thing, but I hated the World of War guns. It just wasn't the same feel. I didn't fuck with it. I did play it, but it wasn't something that was my favorite. And even looking at the maps from there, I don't think any of them make sense. I don't remember any of these names at all. So that
I
just
think a lot of people
don't.
skipped it. Yeah, I'm almost
Yeah.
positive that a lot of people skipped it just because at COD 4, because this came out just a year after COD 4, so COD 4 lasted so long because people just skipped over this shit. I believe that the best thing that came out of World at War was the zombies for a lot of people.
Yeah. I
Right, this
think
was
it
when
was
zombie
this.
was introduced.
Yeah.
You
But
think it
other
was
than
what?
that, it's when zombie was introduced to the game.
Yeah, I got you.
So I think that was that was like the cool thing to do at World of War. But like I don't remember. Like I used to buy every game under the fucking sun as long as everybody else is playing it. So I don't remember picking this up other than for zombies, and then the multiplayer. Like none of these are memorable for me.
What were you going to say, Dre? Or
I
add
was
to it?
saying the same thing. I think this was the Call of Duty they introduced zombies. Because I think if you beat the game and then it will do, oh, this is a secret level, but it's actually the introduction of zombies.
Was this the first game that zombies was a thing?
Yes.
Yes.
So this is the introduction to zombies.
Got
World
it.
of War.
Got it. And I've never ever fucked with zombies, so it's never been my thing. So clearly a lot of us didn't really fuck with it. It wasn't a popular game. So moving into Modern Warfare 2, this was a game where like we all say that Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare was the best game out of the entire franchise. So for us to know that we're getting the second one, we're like, how is that going to live up to it? And for some odd reason, it doesn't matter if they have been Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, whatever, MW2, MW3, whatever they want to call it, because this one was released back in November of 2009. I don't think that they topped that game. Like MW2 was a good game, don't get me wrong, but it looks like they brought back a lot of the games from Call of Duty 4 in order to try and, I don't know, save that game to say that it's good. I don't think that the maps were good to compare in that consensus without stealing some of those. You know, they had Bacon and Strike, which were definitely taken. They have Overgrown and Crash, which were definitely taken. Wasteland became a thing, which is different because even looking at now, Call of Duty has Wasteland in one of the more recent ones, but it's not the same in terms of how it's played, you know, because I used to snipe on that map all the time. Now I can't do shit on that map now. You know, you have Underpass.
Weapon balancing is garbage.
The weapon balancing, yeah, it's definitely changed over time.
Yeah, for sure.
Underpass that's been used before, and Skid Row and Scrapyard, all of these are maps that I remember. I think that, quite honestly, as I go down the list, one of their best maps, if not two of their best maps that they had, I would say was Favela, that I used to always enjoy. And I would say Terminal back then. Terminal now,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's different. It's played different.
Yeah, because it's just the second terminal pops up on the screen, everybody's sniping. Where I don't know, I didn't play the first Modern Warfare 2. I knew of it as well, that this was the new hot game besides COD 4. But it feels like Terminal, everybody just had their gun and just played it.
Yeah. And that had, I do remember that campaign. That one was sweet, and because that's when they had the was it No Russian?
No Russian.
Yep,
Yeah.
No Russian. Yep.
That one I remember. I do, like I said, I don't remember Call of Duty 4 playing campaign. It was okay, but that No Russian, whew, I remember saying that's the sweetest thing I've ever played in my life.
When he came out the elevators, boy, everybody was getting dropped.
Murked. And you see, it was just the chaos. You know, the doors open and everybody's screaming and running by. It looked like a serious terrorist attack or whatever going on. And just you have this LMG and you're just unloading. It was just phenomenal. And I don't think, quite honestly, when I think about it, I don't know if any other campaign, I wouldn't even say full campaign, that map, I don't think any other map in a campaign has toppled that one.
I agree.
Is this the same one, or it could be COD 4, the one with Shepard where he kills Ghost? And then, I think it was towards the end, then you killed Shepard, where you do the throwing knife.
I don't think Ghost came in until Ghost, did it?
No, Ghost was an actual character in Modern Warfare.
Yeah, he's talking about a character. Yeah, this is all the same game.
Okay.
Yeah, so for me at least, I like to state High Rise was okay, but Sniper fucking City, it just became worse down the road. And then Scrapyard I really liked. I played a lot of Terminal. Like I said, I have a lot of memories of playing this game, but they're mixed up on who the fuck I was playing with. So I'm like, man, I remember playing all these maps, but a lot of times these maps been introduced and it's throwing me the fuck off. But now that I'm talking about it and going over it, it just reminded me I was still playing with ZR at this point in time. But they had a whole bunch of fantastic maps, fantastic guns. The Spec Ops, like we get to talk about, the you torturing Soup and everybody
Oh
in Spec Ops.
yes, this was the one that was my training map. So for like anybody that's watching or whatever that may even know the history, or and even if you don't know the history, like coming into this game, IW used to go down on and off, and so I had to bring in new people and get them up to par of what we used to be on our Call of Duty 4 days. Okay, so there I had to use utensils in order to get them to be good. I mean, I can teach them what strafing is and burst firing and all that other stuff. Well, what they perfected, they needed tools to perfect it, and Spec Ops was my tool. That's where I came up with the craziness of people knifing juggernauts and shit. So you weren't in IW during this time, and you didn't do the training during this time,
No,
but you did play the
what
game.
I played the game. The reason why that my what was going on is fuzzy is because we own the game, and then you told me about the training that Soup and Heavy J had to go through, and then you and I went back to the game to do that and play it and knock out some of those Spec Ops stuff. But it was pretty fun. I liked it. There was all kinds of crazy guns back in the day. Back then, the UMP was like one of the most broken guns in the game. I believe the Striker shotgun was stupid broken. TAR was pretty good. The ACR, as I said before, so they had a lot of good guns, and they were just fun guns to play with,
The
which is a
intervention
huge
sniper.
difference. Yeah, that was definitely one of them. It was just a huge. It was a very polished and balanced game for the most part. They just did have some strong stuff, but it wasn't to the point to where like all the other guns are useless, right? So
Mm-hmm.
good
Well,
shit.
I mean, MW2 was definitely a highlight. Even looking at our legacy in terms of like, because I had a breakdown in terms of how many times we've been to playoffs and everything. And I think Call of Duty 4, we did do good. We went to playoffs about 2-3 times, and we made it to at least somewhere within the top 15 in the world. And that could have been 12, 11. I didn't put down the exact number, but I knew that we were at least top 15. But MW2, we went to one time. It had the best maps, but we were top 60 in the world. So we probably made it to at least like 45. I think back then there was a lot more people that played, so they took like the top 50 teams during that time. It was just two different eras. I loved Modern Warfare 2. I mean, that's the most that I can say about that. And definitely the TAR was that was my gun. TAR and FAMAS, I'm shitting on people. So let's look at the next map.
Black
We have
Ops.
Black Ops. You still weren't in IW during this time, and I don't even
I
think
was at the end. This is where
but
I was.
but this was also like a zombies kind of thing, because I don't remember. I'm looking at the maps, and yeah, I do remember the maps. WMD. Oh, I remember some matches with WMD with Raven. I remember Villa. That's that one with
Villa.
that bomb site that was at B. I used to shit on people on that B side. Justin to this day brings that up. So I do vaguely remember it. Summit.
Firing range.
I know the exact map of which I knew you guys from, and it was Hanoi. You guys were running.
it was on this
Hanoi
game?
Yeah, it was this
On-
game, Hanoi. Yeah, I remember it fucking so vividly just because that I always liked the Ice Cube pack that they dropped, where Ice Cube was the announcer, and I bought it.
Oh yeah.
And then I ran into IW while I was playing with ZR, and they were hopping off, and then you guys had an opening, and I was just like, yeah, like you guys are like, hey, you're decent, you want to come fucking play? And I was like, sure, let's see what happens. And that was history. But I 1000% remember the map, and it was Hanoi, which is kind of crazy.
So you were on the
But-
other team, and then we were getting off. One of our
No,
guys
so
got off, and then we
my
put you in?
ZR boys, one of my ZR was getting off, and I was like sitting there bitching, like, oh, you guys can't fucking stay on, that's fucked up, leaving me behind. And then I guess one of you guys heard me, and we just started talking. He's like, we got a spot, and I was like, cool. And then I hopped in, and then I believe that Buck and I got really close at that time period, and then at that point, history was made.
Now imagine how just 1 second could have changed something if you didn't get on that day, or if you got off early with them, or if you said, "Nah, I'm cool. I'm gonna go to bed." Where we're at, because this is the start of history. When you came into IW, now you came in to play with us. That didn't mean that you were part of the clan, though. How did that pan out? Was that on this game, or was it down the road?
It was on this game because we eventually ended up playing. We had a weird fucking time period because I was over in IW so much. A lot of the ZR people started playing with you guys. So we had Ninja. I had Trojan Man. Fucking, we had a whole bunch of people just playing with each other at time because like IW was fucking massive when I came in.
What do
There
you mean
were so
by
many
massive?
people
How
in
many
there.
people, roughly?
I would say fucking at least 50.
It was
Like it was a lot of members of IW.
It
And,
couldn't
like,
have
was just
been
because
50 because we had the rosters could only hold 30 at a time, and I remember holding two different rosters of 30, so we had 60. So unless we had you came
that
in
could have
during the
been
time we had the
60
two
then.
rosters.
Like I said, I don't know the exact number. It had to been at least 50. It just seemed like there were so many members
Mhm.
in IW. And so like I said with that, and because I remember doing scrims between ZR and IW, like it just got kind of like it was just crazy on how cool and how community filled that was for me. This is where my introduction to game battles was, and how structure to gaming was developed, right?
So
So
ZR
for
was
me,
a
he
clan,
was
but they
there.
didn't play. They didn't play game battles. They were just a clan of guys that ran with the same tag.
Yeah, so there was this clan of guys that ran with the same tag, and then for a little bit, and then they got introduced to game battles sometime in Black Ops, really. I forgot exactly when it was because we all signed up for it. But then, like I said, like at some point, we all ended up just scrimming against each other nonstop.
I do
And
vaguely remember that. Like, and we had so many people that we needed some people to scrim against, and you guys had enough
I had
people where it's
people,
like,
yeah.
yes.
And
Okay.
ZR was pretty big on their own too. Like they had, I mean, at least like 20, 30 members at least. And then, but it was just us going back and forth. And I remember us playing on Villa, WMD. That was one of the biggest ones. Like someone said, Villa again. Summit was another one. Launch, man, Launch was such a good map. Everybody wanted to play Nuketown, but we all said it was dumb.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was just so many good maps on Black Ops. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Okay.
This is
Interesting.
more-
So that
Oh.
moves us over to the next game, which is definitely one of my fan favorites, and that is Modern Warfare 3. Now this has a couple of maps. Like I said, over time they would recycle a lot of the maps. Like Terminal is definitely one of the maps that got recycled on here. At least for this game, I vaguely remember some of the newer maps that came in, like Boardwalk. Those were like plus matches, because even when I look at like the multiplayer matches, I didn't play a lot of the like multiplayer in general. Multiplayer was like warm up for IW. We really were playing clan matches. So a lot of these newer maps that came in later after the regular maps were not maps that I know or am used to. But I think that MW3 had the best maps that would be close enough to compare to the maps and how good the maps were on Modern Warfare 4 or Call of Duty 4. Looking at some of them, I remember. Now, granted, I'm going to name some of these maps, and they weren't like maps that I was great at, but I was decent. Like, I remember Lockdown, and I remember Interchange. Hard Hat was definitely a banger, and but like Dome, that was a map that I utilized with also training, because this game also has Spec Ops. I used training for like strafing around the big tank inside of the center. But my best map on here by far was Bakara. Like, nobody can touch. I literally remember the clan talking shit about me, talking, oh, you're not so great, blah blah blah, because they used to always talk shit. And I remember telling them, like, I don't need any of you. All you niggas can say in the damn spawn, and I'll go fuck everybody up. And then I, like, as the leader of the clan, I said, all right, I'm ordering everybody, don't move from the spawn or you're benched from Maxis. I got a point to prove. And I remember going out on Bakara and shitting on people by myself. I remember during, because none of them could move. So like, I remember them getting dropped in the spawn. They're like, bro, and I'm still winning these rounds. Like, Ficarra was probably one of the best maps as an individual. What do you guys think?
I think, and this is when I did start playing a Black Ops 1, but then MW3 I played heavily on because that was the Call of Duty that I personally bought. No, it wasn't like a birthday or Christmas. I saved money to get this game at the time, and then I think, but not counting DLC, so we're going by the base maps. I think it was only 2 maps that were bad that I've seen people like completely like they'll rather take the other map than the other. Would be Downturn and no, people did play Underground, but it was definitely Downturn. I think that was the worst map, and then the rest of the maps were completely fine. Everybody loved playing it. I was not disappointed on any of the layouts.
Well, I'm looking at this and I see that like this is when they introduced death streaks. This had martyrdom where you got hit and a frag would drop. And this is also the point where they had hollow points, so they would use hollow points to be able to shoot through the walls and kill people. I remember this like very well. And this was a point where like they had to eventually take that shit off of clan matches because people were just shooting through walls like from their spawn and killing people in clan matches. But, every Call of Duty ends up doing this. They end up adding shit that they think is going to make the game better, and it ends up, in my opinion, making it worse. And then eventually, when enough people complain about it, at least looking at it from a perspective of clan matches and game battles, now they got to take things off so that it becomes more fun for people to play and keep their people playing that on that website. What about you through Modern Warfare 3, or MW3, should I say, Ray?
As I'm looking at these maps, the clan went down. The IWMW went down on Modern Warfare 3.
Whoa! Did you joined already during the clan on the last game, and then it went down on this game? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it did.
Okay.
The reason why I remember is because of Resistance. I remember playing that with Jimmy, and that was Jimmy, Buck, and myself on Modern Warfare 3. So the clan must have went down at some point on this one because I also remember doing game battles on Seed Town. And I don't remember playing with you that much on this one. We had Lockdown. I remember playing that. Hard Hat. The clan 1000% went down on Modern Warfare 3. But a lot of these maps are crazy to me because now I'm looking back at it and thinking about it. And Terminal was always good. They brought that back. But one of my favorite maps, surprisingly, out of these or Modern Warfare 3 is Arcaden. That was one of my favorite maps. Downturn kind of sucked. Interchange, we had a crazy amount of maps on our matches there. No, and I'm wrong again because now I remember Riot. Riot had fucking a crazy ass fucking hip fire on Interchange, and he was a monster at that one.
Oh, so now you admit he was a monster because I remember you saying, "Oh, he wasn't that."
No,
good.
He sucks. Don't get me wrong. Riot sucks, but he did do some things right, and there was just times where he came in clutch, and I think that's what we remember of him, right? He had this crazy fucking hip fire at Interchange, which was just nuts, and Lockdown. And now that I'm looking at these maps, Lockdown had that hallway where Riot was placed, and he would just like mow down everybody there because his hip firing would beat somebody who's aiming in because they don't have time to react to it. So there was just some things that really worked out. And then Matrix, I remember you having this fucking crazy fucking Claymore setup on C-Town. That shit was annoying.
Let me go to C-Town and see. I already know what that one is because I had a couple of rushes. The thing I enjoyed about some of these maps is that you had certain rushes that you did. And even when they brought back some of those maps onto other games, like I couldn't remember what I did because I had several different rushes in certain spots. I had it down to a science. But like C-Town in general was a map that I had a right, left, in the middle. I had a rush with smoke in order to get behind them. I had a go up halfway and put claymores to prevent anybody and just cover it.
Separate Claymore spots. So if they start figuring out one, you put it at another. So
yes. And that's the thing I loved about it. That's why I love Claymores because a lot of clans they do the same shit over and over and it becomes noticeable. And so I think that people are like, oh well, they're gonna put that same Claymore. I'm not gonna fall for that. And what I would do is I would switch it up. My strategy strategy was switch it up. So now this time I'm going to go and put it up just a little bit further closer to their spawn side. So they think, oh, I'm going to rush up there and I know where that other one is. And when they rush up, then they die to that one. Then I put one further back, closer to our spawn. So now they watch for the first one, they watch for the second one, think I didn't put something, and then come and hit the third one. You know what I mean?
And that's what it was. I just remember you fucking clearing out a whole fucking clan. Because whatever I was doing with, I forgot who I was with, but we ended up dying in like the first couple seconds with me, Control Raven, and somebody else. And we ended up dying in the first couple seconds, and then the Claymore fucking set up because they were trying to rush you in that fucking back area. They're just not patient. Nobody's ever patient in that game, and they just killed themselves. So I dying laughing.
I do remember you being. I mean, like you said, you never been like our star player. No disrespect, but you were good as a strategist, and you were good, in my opinion. You were good with Buck. And what I remember, you know, because there's so many different eras, so many Call of Duties that we played, at least from a clan perspective, that I remember. But what I do remember is Mission. You and Buck had this middle rush that you guys did with frags, pre-frags, and smoke in the middle. Do you remember this on Mission?
Hold on, now to look at it.
I remember, like, I was, you you remember, like, back in the day where it was just like there was certain people you would trust or not trust to do certain things. Like, oh, if somebody's going to have the right or left side. I remember this map so well because when we got to Mission, if we got that as like one of the 3 or 5 maps that we were playing inside a clan match, I knew we about to get 2 or 3 kills right off the fucking rip. If Domination and Buck is in this match and they do that middle, I'm not even worried about it. Like, we got 2. Guaranteed they're dead.
Oh yeah, for sure. I didn't. Is this the game that we beat Optic in?
I don't remember even what was it, MW2 or MW3 that we beat Optic and FaZe. I don't remember.
3. It's this map. Now that you fucking, this was the map that we ended on. No. This isn't the one we ended on. That was the one of the first maps, but we did win that one. It was. Oh shit! Now I want to know which one it was. Give me a second.
What we have been good at in order to beat Optic and FaZe on this game, besides Bakara, like Bakara was a guaranteed. I don't give a fuck who we playing. We definitely won that one. That was like a guaranteed win if we chose Bakara, because during game battles, I think this was the time where you could pick the maps. Like one team picks the map, the other team picks the map, and then the other one's like random or whatever. And I think we used to always pick either Bakara, Dome. We were pretty fucking nasty at too. I'm not even gonna lie.
Oh, that's actually gonna piss me off. We ended up winning on a map that had grass on the outside of it. I just remember grass, and we were just so fucking happy about it, and because the map was so fucking close.
Would be Fallen. That Fallen has grass in it.
Yeah, I think it's Fallen. Yes, Fallen has grass. It has that playground or whatever. And it was on that one, you couldn't even rush up because people would do a pre-frag inside the center where you could barely go up and rush the center. Well, how you thinking about that? What about you, Dre? Like, is this a game that you played? What do you remember of it? What are your... I mean, I know you weren't in IW during that time. What's your fondest memories about it? Guns, games, perks?
I actually want to bring up the question when it came to game battles and stuff because... in Black Ops 1 and MW3, they introduced to where your perks evolved or upgraded themselves, or you were able to upgrade the perks. So where, like for Ghost, where the basic Ghost was you're immune to you can't be showing up on UAVs. But and there was the challenge in MW3 where if you kill 100 players, then it will upgrade to the advanced Ghost, where it says now you're immune to counter UAVs and stuff like that. So how did the perks go when it came to doing your game battles and tournaments?
They had certain perks that either were banned because of like certain bullshit that you would come across that didn't make sense. They tried to make it as realistic as possible. I don't even remember if extreme conditioning would have been one of those things just because of people rushing up. I think that it was for a while because people used that in order to get to certain points quick enough to pre-fire and whatnot. And they would use sleight of hands. I think the ones that they were more concerned about was like blast shield that they would take off and a hard line. They may have even taken off overkill. I don't think they did because I remember using an assault rifle with a sniper rifle. Dead silence was something that was always on, and that's a must that everybody used to use. So it just varied inside of that consensus.
It's gonna
So,
piss me off, bro. I cannot.
well,
figure
think
out
on
what
it, because
the fuck
we're
happened.
not even
I know
halfway.
how to describe it. It had a fucking bridge on the left side, and there was a bridge in the right side in the middle. So that's how it
Rundown.
was. And then there
Rundown?
was like a cove. There was
Rundown.
like a cove, like a cave in the fucking
Rundown.
background.
Is it
It's
Rundown?
Rundown? Do you think it's Rundown?
Or Afghan?
No, it's not Afghan, but you're in the right. It had like a river.
Yeah, Rundown.
Oh my god!
Rundown.
Is it Rundown? Which one? Which Black is it? Black Ops 2 or Modern Warfare 3?
They even had on the most one that we played recent, because the one that we were playing when we just came back together recently to do Twitch streaming, because you were like, man, I hate this map. It's Rundown. That's the only one I can think of that would have that.
I'm gonna figure it out. Don't worry about it.
Alright.
We're gonna figure it out.
All right, so I'm gonna move
Yeah,
on to
we
the
can
next one, because we're barely even halfway through. With 15 minutes left to go, we're looking at the next one being Black Ops 2, which was one of my favorite Black Ops, considering I wasn't a fan of Black Ops. This one came out inside of 2012, and looking at a lot of the maps that are there, I did fuck with Black Ops 2. I remember, this is the point where cap cards and recording was like a thing. And, Twitch and streaming and all that shit wasn't out, but you could at least record through cap cards and whatever. And I remember playing a lot of matches here and having really good clan matches. Standoff was definitely one of them, and Slums was one of my favorites, where I wouldn't say completely untouchable. No, I'm going to say I was completely untouchable, and Hijacked. Those were like the top three for me. I also fucked with Express. And Meltdown. I remember having a rush with Soup on Meltdown, where basically it was a rush where we smoke frag pre-fire, and we would rush one side to get around and come either to the middle or to the other side in order to get behind them. And this was also a game where, Soup wasn't at his best, because I think his best was during Modern Warfare 3. But he still was good. I think that this was the game, though, that he had mastered backtracking. And I was scared to play him.
This is my bread and butter for me. Like I said, Black Ops 2 is where I felt like I went hard for everybody, right? When it came to doing strats and everything. I remember running standoff strats for literally everybody, Claymore placements. We were damn near unstoppable on standoff. The other one was Slums that we ended up doing crazy numbers on. I remember working with you on Claymore placements. If this doesn't go here, if this doesn't work here, then I need you in this spot. I need Matrix to hold this shit down, and I'd go over hours, and almost like if I was getting paid to do it, right? I was going over hours of watching you guys play, because like you said, this is where we were able to record gameplay and then have it saved on Xbox, so then I can go oh, okay, so if you're getting shit on in this spot, what do I need to do? As I said, I think that Buck and I, we worked so much together that it was just magnanimous for other people to kind of put in that same amount of work. We also did a lot of recruiting in Black Ops 2, a crazy amount of recruiting for people like Funky Blowfish and stuff like that. I just remember working with people on Express. We had so many clan matches on Express, and it was really fun. I liked it.
Yeah, I think that this was a game where I remember pushing people to understand the concept of die 1,000 times before you can win 1,000 times. This was a time where, like you said, we could watch the videos and play them back, see what we did wrong and learn from those mistakes. Where are we dying from? How far are we going up before we die? I think that this was an era where strategies was a thing. Learning our rushes and perfecting our rushes was definitely the game before on MW3, and I think that each era or each game kind of gave us some type of new technical aspect that we could learn and take and learn from that. And I think that was one of the biggest ones, was finding a way to rush up and know when you can die and how to hold down certain spots. Black Ops, like I said, it wasn't my favorite, but Black Ops 2, definitely out of the Black Ops series, was one of my favorites.
From my point of view as just a regular player, Black Ops 2, I would say, is one of the definitions of a perfect design Call of Duty. So they and they had three aspects. They had the campaign story, they had multiplayer, and they had zombies, and they nailed 10 out of 10 on each section. And I was it was very hard for me to say a negative thing to it, and especially considering like as from your guys' point of view, they had the theater mode, so you can see where so you could do your see where your grenades throw, where you could place this here and there. So this was like a banger of a Call of Duty.
Yeah, well, the equipment I remember because this is where they had like I'm almost positive this is where bouncing betties came into play, but it was a thing where like you can go prone in order to avoid them. You could do
Yeah.
that with bouncing betties, but you couldn't do that with claymores, which I was still using claymores and smacking them on that. I would have to go back and look at the map, but I remember having certain claymore spots that were just locked down. This was also the map where they had the combat axe, and a lot of people would like to throw them across the map and try and get kills with them.
Cross map
So-
tomahawks, yeah.
Yeah, the tomahawk thing. What about the campaign? You guys remember playing the campaign for this? Because I feel like this was also an era of zombies as well.
It
Yeah.
is. Yeah, it was huge for zombies. But surprisingly, I didn't play too much. I mean, I played enough to understood, the basic mechanics of everything in zombies, but it was mostly just it was such a clan match era. You didn't have time for fucking zombies.
I
Yeah.
did play the campaign a lot for this, and they kind of added a little spice to it whereas past Call of Duties, they have, the achievements where it's like, oh, pick up the 50 intel while playing story, whereas this one, for the story, you got to interact, you got to choose who died and who lived and alter the ending when you complete the story based on the decisions you made during the campaign. Each level had a series of challenges that you can do. So they kind of innovated the campaign story to where you could when you play it again, then you could do something different.
I think it is, even though, because a lot of people, I know that you and I already have talked about our enjoyment and our love for not Modern Warfare, but Black Ops 2 inside this Call of Duty series. But this is the one that really escapes me. For as good as what we were, as I remember that we were, this was one of the games that we never made it to playoffs. We had 600 plus matches played on here. We were top 100 in the world at some point. But this wasn't our best Call of Duty. It wasn't one that we were beating top clans on. The maps have gone downhill. I mean, they have some good ones. Hijacked is Hijacked the same as Ferry Boat, or were those two separate maps?
No, hijack is
separate.
different. The problem
Okay.
is that ultimately what was happening is that IW went down so many fucking times. Even during this Black Ops 2 era, which is probably why you don't remember it as well. But IW ended up going down again, and I had to still work with the people that we had. But I remember to the point to where our numbers dwindled down to just you, me, and I think it was you, me, Raven, and maybe Riot during this time period.
Really?
And
That
yeah,
can't be because I'm looking at the maps and I remember playing. I can't remember their names, but I'm looking at Overflow, and I remember playing Overflow with certain people. I remember playing with Buck and have footage from playing on Drone, which was
I'm
one of
talking
my
about
best
the
maps.
end of the Black Ops 2 period, because we were still down.
Oh, no,
in the
for
Ghost
sure.
area.
I remember
Remember?
Buck creating a new team. Him and I got into it.
So
and
we were still good, but as I said, Black Ops 2 was just a big era. We had so much going on with like hundreds of matches going on, but because of that, as I said, like there was like multiple breaks. One was with was pretty huge with Buck, and then the other one was with Heavy's cousins.
Mhm.
I'm almost positive it was Heavy's cousins. And then as I said, our numbers dwindled down a lot towards the end of Black Ops 2 to where we weren't even going to pick up the next fucking game, which was Ghost. And we had to rebuild during Ghost time, but I don't even think we did.
See, I feel like Ghost was something that we didn't really play it on. I'm going to it right now just to look at our history with Ghost, and we didn't make playoffs in that. We were top 200. I think this was a very dark era of like when the teams were separate. Buck's team, my team, there was a lot of confusion, and because it's not about just me. We were good together, and he went off to kind of say, "Hey, I can be better without you." And it wasn't about you can be better without me. It was that we were good together, and we needed to work together in order to be the team that we were looking at like MW2 and MW3 when we beat Optic and FaZe, which we did multiple times. We beat them. I mean, they beat us hell of times. Don't get me wrong. We had to be
a lot
beat many times by them to figure out what they were doing in order to counteract it. But when we did, we beat them a few times. You know, they would look at our rank and say, well, these niggas is... I remember when they saw us when we first started, like, oh my God, they're like 2,500 wins and like 4,800 losses. You know, something ridiculous. I don't remember what the numbers were, but it was like that dramatic. And they thought that we were terrible. And when we played them, we were shitting on them. We weren't a clan restart, so our record always looked bad compared to them. But our skill was definitely up where they were, if not better.
Yeah, so it was a crazy era, and I just remember that like it was just like we had so much drama at this fucking point because like there was like times where like, you know, Buck is like actively waiting for IW to fucking throw up. It's like, oh, there's Claymores, there's this Matrix team type deal, and it was just insanity. It was just very sad too because there was so much fucking skill, so many powerful personalities and skill. Right, and if you know, trying to, as a strategist, trying to make sure that everybody gets their shit together, and you know, try to, you know, nullify fires before they fucking happen, was just fucking horrible. And then, you know, I'm always in between fucking everybody, trying to make things, you know, as peaceful. And like some people are just saying, fuck it. It was just crazy what happens when you put all stars together like that, and everybody has their own opinions.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Nutty.
And last thing I want to kind of cover, because we're running out of time, so I think we should do a part 2 to finish up the last few Call of Duties, the last half of Call of Duties, next week on next Friday. You can join us here every single Friday, 7 o'clock, Gaming Corner podcast. Right now we're just talking about gaming, but you don't know what kind of shit we're going to talk. We're going to talk about all kinds of wild stuff. So please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Lord Chimera TV, Don Cuddles TV, and King Matrix TV to become a part of that. But before I get out of here and do an outro, looking at guns during this time, because this is Black Ops 2. And so inside of this era, you know, the guns have changed. And I'm even looking at, like, what gun did I use? And I remember using the MTAR, which to me was the same as the TAR, right? The TAR 28, it was just called something different. I know a lot of people use the Type 25, but I think I only segregated myself to that gun. Now the SCAR is on that game. This was a time where the SCAR was on a couple of different games. Was this the best version of the SCAR? What gun did you use? Like, tell me about it.
I have to look and see which guns I used. It's been a while. I used the FAL. That was a pretty good one, and you were right. The SCAR was pretty good. But my ultimate gun, that was the standard, was the M8A1. Like, so many people use that shit in fucking clan matches. It was unreal. That thing was a crazy 4-burst gun. I think that the go-to submachine gun, it was the MSMC. 100% it was. And then mostly all the other guns are banned. But I remember those two guns being the meta guns for a very long time.
What about you, Dre?
In terms of guns, for me in the assault rifles was the AN-94. Because it has the 2 rounds of burst fire at the start. I actually like the M27. I think they did really well for like the people that first started the game, because the M27 was the freebie assault rifle they started with. It wasn't crazy broken, but it wasn't bad at all. It was just really accurate, so I think they did well. That was my opinion on that. And I used the MP7 a lot, but I mostly was a shotgunner. I did run around with the R870 and the KSG and just run around with the shotguns. I had so much fun doing that.
Well, there it is. And, you know, once we get through all the Call of Duty, we can kind of talk about how it's evolved over that time. Like, looking at the maps that we play, the different kinds of guns, you can definitely see how even the quality of it, you know, the texture of it, the graphics of it started to become a lot better over time. And you're going to see that as we kind of talk about it in that next half. So I hope everybody enjoyed themselves today and kind of even reminisced if you played any of these Call of Duties from the past. Like I said, as always, you can catch us every Friday. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell whenever you get a chance. whatever you subscribe on YouTube, subscribe on Twitch, whatever, Facebook, whatever you know us to have as a platform.
All of them.
We're on all of them. We're on all of them. So go ahead and get at us. And it's been a pleasure just sitting here and reminiscing about the good old days. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, go touch grass.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Peace.